Whether you realize it or not, you're probably already quite familiar with Leo rising energy, or should I say Leo energy generally, because Leo will not let you forget it. Leo is one of the more remarkable signs of the zodiac. And it's not to say that there aren't any other remarkable signs, but you know, Leos are the kings and queens of the zodiac. Yes, we get it. So a lot of the words associated, the keywords associated with Leo energy are regal, king, queen, lion, right? We get it, we get it. But I find that people fall in either one of two camps. They're either like, oh yeah, I like that Leo energy, I vibe with it, I get it. And others are like, oh my gosh, I hate it. Like, it's too much, it's too much. And I get it, right? Again, Leo is a very remarkable sign in the zodiac. But one of the things that Leo is most known for is drama. Leo has that main character energy. And what's interesting is that recently in the news, you know, Jennifer Lopez is one of the more famous Leos. And she isn't having the best of times right now, let's just say that. But she is famously or infamously known for excluding certain zodiac signs from her camp. And she absolutely detests Virgos. Like, she's like, I don't want any Virgo dancers. I don't want any Virgos on my team. Like, she's real main character energy. And for better or for worse, that's really characteristic of Leo energy. However, of course, Leo energy, specifically Leo rising, is so much more. Like, I bet you didn't know that when it comes to family, Leo is like super deep. Those familial bonds run real deep, and Leo risings tend to have quite a bit of family drama or family secrets, all right? When it comes to relationships and commitment, unsurprisingly, Leo can be very aloof and emotionally detached. I mean, they are the kings and queens, and I feel like they kind of want a partner who lets them be them and lets them shine independently. And also, when it comes to business, surprisingly, Leo can be very materialistic. Leo is all about the cake, all about the bread, the dough. Like, Leo wants it all, the luxury and the comforts, all right? And even more surprisingly, on the inside, Leo rising is a completely different person, all right? So in this video, I will be discussing everything you need to know about Leo rising in the natal chart. So stick around, you definitely don't want to miss this. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If this is our first time meeting, welcome. My name is Mel. I'm a professional astrologer, and I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So we're keeping the party going, and this week we are talking about Leo rising. Now, I've created a playlist called Your Rising Sign, so you can definitely check out the other videos in the playlist, so you can either learn more about your rising sign, or maybe if you're cross-watching for someone else, you can learn more about them. So the link to that will be in the description box below. But again, today, it's all about Leo rising. So, kings and queens of the zodiac, right? We get it. But before I get into all of those details, I want to talk about rising signs generally, specifically rising signs as they are a part of the big three. So in astrology, the big three, wow, I'm holding up four. The big three are your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. And together, all three of these signs form the cornerstone, or basically the foundation of your personality, especially as it pertains to your natal chart, all right? It's like the basis for everything when it comes to your personal astrology. So if you want to know more about the big three, I created a video all about it. This is it right here. Link will be in the description box below, all right? But suffice it to say, a quick synopsis, right? Sun sign. This is the sign that most people are familiar with. That is the day that you were born. It's your zodiacal sign. And as it pertains to your personality, your sun sign represents your outward expression. Think about the sun generally. The sun just shines. So how you shine in the world, how you show up, how you express yourself is represented by your sun sign, right? Next, we have your moon sign. So whereas your sun is external, your moon sign is internal. Your moon sign represents your emotions, your subconscious, and your inner world. So it's the part of you that you don't necessarily show to the world. It's your private life, all right? And then finally, we have your rising sign. And your rising sign is a bit different from your sun sign and your moon sign. I like to think of your sun sign and your moon sign as very subjective, right? How you shine is very subjective and your whole inner world is very subjective. However, your rising sign can be viewed as an objective facet of your personality because your rising sign it's the mask you wear. It's the billboard that you hold up. Essentially, it's how the world perceives you. So whereas your sun and your moon sign is how you perceive yourself, your rising sign is how the world perceives you, hence why it is objective, all right? And again, all three of those help to make up the main facets of your personality, all right? So now let's get into Leo rising. And of course, we start off with the basics. All right, so let's talk about rising signs generally. So I already mentioned how rising signs are part of the big three, right? But what exactly is a rising sign? So by definition, a rising sign is the sign that was rising on the eastern horizon at the moment that you were born. Think of it like the sunrise. Actually, your rising sign is your personal sunrise, okay? And it's really important to get your precise birth time because it is your birth time that determines your rising sign. So by contrast, your sun and your moon signs are basically determined by your birth date, whereas the rising sign is determined by your birth time. And it's really important to get the precise birth time because the rising sign changes every 2 hours. So there's a difference between being born at 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. Whether you feel like you were born in the morning or the afternoon, typically your sun sign or your moon sign won't change. However, there's one rising sign at 8 a.m. and one rising sign at 2 p.m. So it's important to get that time as accurate as possible. And I love the idea of your rising sign being your personal sunrise. It's literally your entrance into the world, right? Both figuratively, spiritually, and metaphorically, right? You've arrived, right? And that phrase really holds true for Leo, okay? Because Leo has arrived. There is no mistaking that Leo is here, but I'll get to that in a second. The last thing that I want to mention with respect to rising signs is that you'll hear people use the word ascendant and rising sign interchangeably. Now, there is a slight nuance between the two that I wanted to explain. So the rising sign is literally the sign, like I said before, that was rising on the eastern horizon the moment that you were born. Every sign in the zodiac has 30 degrees. So the rising sign is just the sign itself. It doesn't make mention of the degree. However, your ascendant is the exact degree of the rising sign that was present the moment that you were born. So as an example, you could be a Leo rising, right? That's your rising sign. However, Leo 12 degrees would be your ascendant. And in your natal chart, the ascendant is demarcated by AS or ASC. All right. So you'll hear people use them interchangeably, but again, there's that slight nuance. So now let's talk about Leo energy generally. So like I said before, they're the kings and queens of the zodiac. They are the monarchs. They are royalty. They are the kings and queens of the jungle even, right? Leo energy has a lot of leadership quality to it. It stands out. Now, what I love about astrology, what I love about the zodiac signs is that they're typically backed up by the planets. So every sign has a planetary ruler, and the planetary ruler of Leo is the sun. Think about that. The sun is relatively stationary in our solar system. Everything else revolves around the sun, hence why Leo is the way that it is. But not just that, the sun shines unapologetically. Whether it is cloudy, whether it is snowing, whether it is raining, the sun rises and shines whether you see it or not. And that's also very emblematic of Leo energy. Leo will let you know that they are in the building, okay? And I love that about Leo energy. But apart from just that main character shining as they are energy, Leo can be also very prideful, right? As the king of the jungle, or the queen of the jungle, right? The leader of the pack of lions. The pack of lions is known as a pride, okay? So Leo, being the leader of that pride, can be quite prideful. Now, that can be for better or for worse, but it is what it is, right? But most importantly about Leo energy that I think a lot of people overlook is the fact that Leo is heart-centered. I want you to equate in your mind, if you haven't already, start doing it now, equate in your mind Leo with heart, okay? Now, I always get this confused, and correct me in the comments if I am wrong, but in The Wizard of Oz, the cowardly lion wanted courage. Sorry. I had to flesh that out, and I feel like I do that all the time in every video. I'm like, oh yeah, the cowardly lion wanted a heart. It was the Tin Man that wanted a heart. I don't know why. The cowardly lion should have wanted a heart, because lions and Leo is associated with the heart. Don't mind me. Like, this is just me sometimes. But Leo energy is heart-centered, okay? And the heart is vital to our body. The heart is the essence of who we are, just like the sun is the essence of the solar system. So whether you like it or not, and don't come for me with this, Leo is important. That Leo energy is important. Not to say that the other zodiac signs aren't, but in terms of extroverted energy, standing out energy, shining and being authentic from the heart, that is all Leo, okay? And again, some of the other keywords associated with Leo are, you know, royalty, pride, main character. But here's the thing that I also love about Leo energy. Has a lot to do with childlike energy. Leo is warm, it's generous, and childlike. So while Leo may have that show-offy, look at me, attention-seeking energy, at the heart of Leo is someone who is incredibly loving, incredibly generous, and childlike. Like, let's keep it 100, all right? Even though we may not like that Leo energy because it's very attention-seeking and attention-getting, you cannot tell me that you don't know a Leo who isn't warm and generous. Every single Leo I know, that includes Leo rising, they're generous, they're loving, they're fun at their core. Like, that's so beautiful when it comes to Leo energy. Now, the last thing I want to mention is every zodiac sign is associated with a different part of the body. So to recap, Aries has to do with the head. Taurus has to do with the throat. Gemini has to do with the hands and some part of the musculature. Cancer has to do with the breasts, right? Cancer is very mothering, nurturing energy. So of course, breasts are a big part of Cancer energy. And when it comes to Leo, Leo has to do with the heart. The heart pumps the blood that keeps us alive. There's a vitality inherent in Leo energy that is undeniable. Again, they are the sun, for better or for worse. All right. So now let's get into the main characteristics of Leo rising. All right. Let's get into it. All right. So when we're talking about a rising sign and we're talking about the main characteristics, clearly you would look at the first house. Now, the first house covers your physical body and your appearance. Everything about the self would be governed by the first house. And it also follows that if we're talking about the foundation of your personality, there's four different houses that you want to look at. The first being the first house, the second one being the fourth house, the third one being the seventh house, and the fourth one being the 10th house. If that was confusing, I'm sorry. Let me break that down more simply. The first house, the fourth house, the seventh house, and the 10th house will tell you about your general personality in like a holistic sort of way. All right. So first house, Leo rising, is Leo. So everything about Leo that I described before will definitely pertain to your personality, being regal, main character, warm, loving, childlike. Now, I talked about how Leo rules the heart, okay, physically speaking. But one of the other things that is very characteristic of Leo risings is their appearance. They actually tend to look very feline. So they'll have a very either svelte looking face, feline characteristics, like their facial features are sort of unmistakable. The other defining sort of physical characteristic of Leo risings is their hair. They always have a nice mane of hair, typically thick hair. It's very unmistakably Leo. Leo loves to look like the leader, and Leo is the leader of the pride. So Leo will definitely have some feline-like qualities, which I think is absolutely beautiful. All right. Next up, let's talk about family. So when it comes to family, Leo rising has Scorpio as the 4th house. This means that your family bonds are like this. There's a very deep and sometimes even dark connection when it comes to your family, okay? Now, Scorpio is a sign that's inherent, that has inherent in it mystery, the occult, right? So when it comes to Leo's family, there could be a lot of secrets and a lot of darkness. So if you're like friends with a Leo rising or you know a Leo rising, they may be very cryptic about their family, or they definitely don't divulge their family business because it's probably a little crazy and maybe a little shady, all right? However, having that darkness, having that depth in the family realm gives Leo rising a very unique perspective on what constitutes family, what makes family tick. Scorpio has a lot to do with psychology. And so understanding how family dynamics work is going to be one of the quintessential characteristics of a Leo rising. They can help you understand their family, maybe because their own family is effed up. Long story short. However, there's a depth and a substance to family that Leo risings inherently have. Next, let's talk about your relationships, specifically your committed relationships. And for you, your 7th house is Aquarius. So Leo likes to stand out and be unique. And when it comes to romantic relationships, Leo rising can often be described as like cold, detached, emotionally detached, a little distant. Not just that, because those are the sort of the attributes of Aquarius energy. Aquarius is a air sign. So in committed relationships, Leo is very mental, is very logical, and can be a little quirky. Like Leo is really looking for a partner that sort of marches to the beat of their own drum as well. So their relationships, their committed relationships may be non-traditional, and they may be just weird or quirky, or they tend to gravitate toward eccentric people who are not like the norm, right? And that makes sense because Leo stands out. They want a partner that stands out as well, but maybe in a different sort of way. And then when it comes to career and sort of their public image and reputation, Leo rising has a 10th house of Taurus. So Leo rising is all about the money when it comes to business and career. Not just that, they're also about the relationships that matter, relationships that are valuable. I can almost guarantee that a Leo rising will have, now I'm about to age myself real quick, so don't come for me, a Rolodex or a whole bunch of contacts in their phone of people who are valuable to them, whether it's work relationships, whether it's networking people. Like they have people who can help make them money. They know the right people to call who will press the right buttons and make things happen. But even on a more mundane level, Leo rising is a worker. They are a builder. They will build an empire from the ground up when it comes to business. Now, publicly, because your 10th house not only has to do with career, but sort of your public image, Leo looks good. Taurus is ruled, Leo rising, I should say. Taurus is ruled by Venus. And Venus, as it is expressed by Taurus, is beauty, it's luxury, it's comfort, okay? Not just that, Leo rising may work in the beauty industry, the art industry, anything that has to do with beauty, aesthetics, products even. You'll typically find Leo risings working within that realm, all right? So when it comes to sort of the foundation of your personality, you're more than just a leader. You understand family dynamics at a very deep level. You and your partners in your committed relationships probably are showstoppers and trendsetters. And when it comes to work, not only are you a builder, but people can see just how wealthy you probably are. All right. So now let's move into some areas of life that are pertinent to Leo risings. All right, so now let's talk about 3 areas of life that people always want to know about. Number 1 will be relationships. Number 2 is money. And number 3 is work and career. So first, relationships. So for the sake of this video, I'm just going to talk about like romantic relationships and friendships. All right. So to ascertain your romantic life, aka your dating life, you would look to your 5th house. And as Leo rising, your 5th house is Sagittarius. So you probably tend to be, generally speaking, optimistic about your love life. You see the bigger picture, and to a certain extent, you may want that fairy tale, idyllic sort of romance, okay? And you're willing to be adventurous about it. And as I'm saying this, you know what comes to mind? Like passport bros, like people who will go far and wide to have that idyllic kind of relationship, for better or for worse, right? However, what's important to note is that you keep the bigger picture in mind. You're not really concerned about the details of romance. You just want to feel and experience the passion of romance on a grandiose and larger than life scale. Okay. Then next we talk about your committed relationships, right? And this would be evidenced by your 7th house. And as I mentioned before, that would be Aquarius. So not only is your partner quirky, you two stand out, but in your committed relationships, you tend to be more cerebral than passionate or emotional. You think about things specifically into the future, and you're probably always trying to figure out ways to improve upon your relationship. How can you make this better? How can this be long lasting while still keeping your Leo sort of energy intact? All right. And then finally, we look to your 11th house of friendships to ascertain your friendships. And so for you, your 11th house is Gemini. So when it comes to friends, you likely have a lot of friends. You talk to people, you're busy as a bee, and you're really social. Now, these friendships may not necessarily be deep. These are probably just a whole bunch of acquaintances, people that you know, people that you party with, people that you work with, but not necessarily anything substantive. However, you love that because you're able to learn from people. People can learn from you, and then you keep it moving. Lots of friends, but maybe not necessarily close or deep friendships. All right. So now let's talk about money. So to ascertain your personal finances, we look to your 2nd house. And for you, Leo rising, your 2nd house is Virgo. So when it comes to money, your personal money, how you make money, you likely work in a service-oriented situation. So maybe you are a server, maybe you are a caretaker, whatever it is, you likely make your money from service. And you're probably very organized, efficient, and likely a perfectionist. Whatever you do, especially if you're trying to attract more money in your life, it will behoove you to be very detailed oriented, granular, and again, of service. Okay. Virgo loves things in order, compartmentalized. There's that mental aspect to it. There's also the aspect or the characteristic of Virgo that is Virgo is also very much known as an analyst. So maybe you make your money as an analyst, analyzing data or something like that. And if you want to make more money in your life, right? If you want to attract more money, analyzing something and getting paid for it may just be the thing for you to do. All right. However, when it comes to your personal finances, you are very detail oriented. You're very, you compartmentalize things. You're orderly, you're efficient, you're of service, and you analyze things. Next, when it comes to your shared resources and your debt, we look to your 8th house. And when it comes to Leo rising, your 8th house is Pisces. So when it comes to debt and shared resources, things are definitely not organized, nor are they efficient, because Virgo and Pisces are sister signs. They're actually flip sides of the same coin. So whereas Virgo is very detail oriented, structured, and, analytical, Pisces kind of just throws caution to the wind, is very emotional, intuitive, right? So when it comes to debt, you may not even have a real handle on your debt. You may not even know how much debt you actually have. Or it may be a very sore spot for you because, again, Pisces tends to be very sensitive, all right? Now, when it comes to shared resources, Shared resources are very fluid with you, right? Shared resources include like your spouse's income, money that you share with the spouse, loans, inheritances. Other people's money essentially is covered by the 8th house. So there's this nebulous kind of energy when it comes to other people's money and, debt. It's like you don't know where your situation begins and the other person's ends. Everything is kind of just mixed together. And when it comes to shared resources and debt, you're very much emotion-led, very sensitive, and very intuitive. So very big difference between your personal money and your shared money and your debt. Now, finally, sort of piggybacking off of that area of life, we're going to talk about work and career. Now, there's a distinction in astrology. Work is your 9-to-5 job, what you do on a daily basis. And when it comes to work, you would look at your 6th house, which covers work and health. And for you, that is Capricorn. So when it comes to work, you are very structured. You likely are in a position of authority, right? And this goes very well with your 2nd house of money that I was just talking about. Your 2nd house of money is Virgo. You're structured, you're analytical. And so what you do on a daily basis, perhaps that gives you personal income, is very structured. It's very practical. It could be analytical. You could be a boss. You could be an authority figure, a supervisor, a manager, right? Either way, there's a certain level of status, expertise, and authority that you typically have when it comes to your 9-to-5 job. Now, when it comes to your work, which is your overarching career, your vocation, or your life purpose, that is Taurus, like I mentioned before. So it's very builder, right? When it comes to how you make money personally, your work and your career, they're all earth signs. Virgo is your 2nd house of money. Capricorn is your 6th house of work. And Taurus is your 10th house of career. So everything about how you make money, what you do on a daily basis, and your career is very practical. It's very perhaps money focused. It's analytical. It's very realistic, right? And again, with Taurus as your 10th house, you either work in the beauty industry or the aesthetics, anything very Venusian, but you are a builder. You are someone who could be in charge of building an empire from the ground up. All right. I love those kind of characteristics for Leo because it's an interesting juxtaposition between the Leo that we know and that we're told and that we see, and like the Leo rising behind the scenes. That's like, yeah, I'm the main character, but I know how to get to work. I know how to make that money. I know how to compartmentalize it. I'm a boss. And I know, not only do I know how to make money, but I look like I make money, right? I love those characteristics for Leo. All right. So now let's get into what we don't know about Leo, which should be really interesting. All right. So we are not just light bodies, right? We are, like everything else, dualistic. So we have a light side and a shadow side. And it's really important to understand your shadow side because your shadow side a lot of times is driving the car and you don't even realize it. Because your shadow side represents your subconscious, specifically your subconscious programming. And because your subconscious programming creates your reality, it's like the program that's running in the background, sort of like the real you or the you that is hidden, is everything that is reflected back to you in your reality. So whenever we're talking about our shadow side and perhaps the side of our personality that's hidden from us, we talk about the 12th house. Okay. Now for Leo rising, the 12th house is Cancer. So Leo rising, right? Leo is your first house. You are extroverted, right? Leo is a masculine, fire, and fixed sign. I forgot to mention that earlier, but yes, Leo is masculine, fire, and fixed. Very extroverted, very stable, very here I am, see me shine, venerate me. Right? That's what we know and what we see of Leo. That's the billboard that Leo holds up. However, the shadow side to Leo is deeper. It's nurturing. It's mothering. It is fertile with sort of caretaker kind of energy, which is emblematic of Cancer. Now, I love this and it makes sense because remember I said before, at the core of Leo energy is warmth and generosity. And that's very much in alignment with that Cancer kind of energy. Now, if you've ever watched any documentaries or any shows about lions in the wild, right? how they protect their cubs, specifically lionesses. It's like you can see how the lioness is the queen of the jungle. That's what you see. But underneath that protection, that mothering, that's all Cancer energy. So that heart-centered energy has a lot to do with Cancer. And it's like just being, you know, heart-centered and generous. You take it a step further with that Cancer energy and you're psychic, you're intuitive, you're sensitive, specifically sensitive to whatever it is that you are nurturing. That's why as much shade as people want to throw on Leo energy generally, you really can't, because at their core, their shadow side, they are loving and nurturing. Now, Cancer is not just all rainbows and unicorns, right? There's no sign that's just rainbow and unicorns. So when it comes to that shadow side of Cancer, which is the shadow side of Leo, there's that smothering kind of energy that, like, think of it this way. Leo shines like the sun, and they can be very mothering, perhaps overbearing on the inside. It's almost as if Leo may not want you to shine as much as they do. They smother you with their brightness in a way. So, or they smother you with emotion, right? It can be overbearing, super protective, okay? So that's part of that shadow side of the shadow side. Also, Cancer can be very moody and temperamental. So while Leo rising, as what we see and what is expressed to us as the outside world, is a fixed sign. So it's very fixed, it's very stable. On the inside, Leo is like wavering back and forth. It's very temperamental, very moody, just like the tides of the ocean. So what you see is not necessarily what you get. On the outside, Leo's like, yeah, look at me, look at me. On the inside, Leo's like, oh my God, I don't know how I feel. Oh my gosh, yeah, I feel great. Oh my gosh, I don't feel so good, right? Like, it's that temperamental nature, that swinging back and forth of that Cancer energy that's inherent on the inside of Leo, all right? So again, when it comes to our rising signs, when it comes to astrology generally, it's more than just meets the eye. And our shadow side, again, is so important because it helps to understand what's really driving the car. So, like I said before, your subconscious programming, your shadow side, is what is reflected back to you in your reality. So while everyone sees Leo as the king and the queen, what Leo rising is experiencing is like temperamental nature, is like all of this being sensitive to everything around them, right? That is what's being projected back to Leo rising. So again, whenever you want to know the hidden nature of yourself, you will look to the 12th house. All right, my loves. So that concludes this video on Leo rising. So tune in next week when I will be breaking everything down about Virgo rising as we keep your rising sign series going. All right. For information on my products and services, all of that is either tagged to the video or in the description box below. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.